Fearless Families. This is Dr. Cheryl Schmidt, and welcome to the Fearless Family Health Podcast. In a world that is filled with fear, my hope is to bring you inspiration, information, and support to live more joyfully and more healthy. Come with us as we interview parents, doctors, and experts in all areas of health and vitality. Let's make you the master of your family's future. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. Today, we are going to dive into the fears that are holding you back, the fears that are keeping you from achieving your wellness and fitness goals. And we're going to talk about the tips that we have for you to overcome those objections, to find your community, to find your why, and to reach your wellness and fitness goals for this year and beyond, to have a healthy and happy life. Dr. Heather Denniston is a seasoned chiropractor with an additional certification as a wellness chiropractor. She is an NASM trained certified personal trainer, an avid athlete, a health enthusiast, and writer who has a passion for inspiring people of all ages to ignite first steps toward their personal best. Through online content, public speaking, and coaching, Heather shares wellness, fitness, and nutrition expertise for those looking for deeper change. Dr. Denniston is a frequent wellness strategist presenter for companies like Microsoft. She is also the author of The 3-Day Reset and the creator of the online wellness membership program, The Change Cave. Dr. Heather presents nationally in a format that is energetic and engaging, and I know you will enjoy this interview. You can contact her at www.wellfitandfed.com. Welcome, Heather. So hi, Dr. Heather. Thank you for joining me today on the podcast. I'm excited to have you. I've had you before on a Facebook Live with our office before, and everybody loved your interview we did on there. And so I know they're going to love this one as well on my new podcast forum. So welcome. And thank you for joining us. Today we're going to get into the topic of setting goals, and not on what you think you should be doing, but more based on what is true for you and what fits into your goals and wellness. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. You put out a really tremendous show. So I'm pleased as punch. Thank you so much.
Cool. So the first question I have for you, because I know you work with a lot of people who are trying to get into a better fitness, nutrition, action-oriented life, and they're trying to achieve not only fitness goals, but life goals as well. So What do you think is the biggest fear people have when it comes to creating new wellness, fitness, or nutritional goals, and you're working with them?
Yeah, I love that sort of one of the cornerstones of your podcast is around fear, because I think that, of course, that's one of the things that holds us back the most. And when I think about that question, Dr. Cheryl, I think of four things. One is fear of failing, obviously. That's probably the biggest one for a lot of us, is just, I can't do it. I'm not going to, be able to make it. I think of you actually training for a triathlon. I don't know if you had moments, but I certainly would, of like, oh my gosh, there's no way I can do this. So that's number one. Number two is fear of looking foolish. I can't tell you how many people I've coached that allow not having the right outfit, being afraid people are looking at them, not being afraid that they're not doing the thing right and they're going to be laughed at, to be the brick wall that holds them back. And so that's one. And then not being sure where to start, a fear of just, I don't know where to begin. And then I think one of the ones that you and I know the most intimately as chiropractors is fear avoidance behavior. So if you have an injury, or you're sore, or you're in pain, or you're out of shape, there's this whole concept of fear avoidance behavior where you exacerbate the amount by which you should pull back on activity because you're afraid of further hurting yourself. And by doing that, you become deconditioned and unhealthier, and it makes it that much harder to make steps forward. So those are the ones that I think of when you ask the question.
Yeah, and I think that covers a lot of the emotional reasons that we hold back. And I mean, even with this podcast, putting this podcast out there, there are some, it took me a while to get to get it out because of a lot of those fears that you mentioned at first. And then when it comes to the physical aspect of it, definitely not wanting to push yourself to a point of injury, or maybe not knowing what that might be. So having someone to help you out and coaching that is great.
Yeah, and I think you just said it too. Is the not knowing is a breeding ground for fear bacteria, isn't it? It's the unknown. If you don't have the right resources and you don't have the right information, you don't have the right people around you, that fear of the unknown is so easily able to just kind of cloud your vision on how to take steps.
Yeah, and then on the other hand too, we have analysis paralysis, right?
Yeah.
We have people that really know enough to go. You know enough to go. You just need to give them a push. Or you can get stuck in the I don't think I know as much as I need to know, and you get caught in the cycle. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. My business coach, Todd Herman, said, and I can't remember, I wish I could quote the study, but men and women, executives and entrepreneurs, were analyzed in a bunch of different capacities. And one of them was that one of the data points that came out is that women are wonderful at making amazing lists, to-do lists, ways to move forward. They're organized, they're prioritized, they're awesome. Men are awful at doing that, but they're excellent at taking steps forward. And so we need a little bit of each other's, men need to borrow our list-making, prioritizing ability, and we need to borrow their ability to just say, screw it, I'm making steps forward, I'm going to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we see it all the time. We see it with health. We see it with, just any kind of goal that you have, that people need to have a little bit of both of that. Your yin and your yang need to kind of balance.
For sure. Yeah, there needs to be a balance there. And I have clients who the analysis paralysis is literally paralyzing. They cannot take decisive action, and it completely squashes their ambitions and their goals.
So what kind of tips do you have for someone to overcome those fears and objections that you see with clients you are working with?
Yeah. I was thinking about that question in regard to, it sounds like a big portion of your listeners are families, they're moms, they're folks that are super, super busy balancing often, a crazy home life, or maybe it's a crazy home life with work. And so, we need to get really specific in our prescription for, well, how do you make wellness work in a life that, in a season of life that's really quite crazy already, right? So one of the things I talk to my clients about is establishing a wellness why. And if you bear with me, I'm just going to tell a quick story. Many of you have seen the In Pursuit of Happiness movie with Will Smith. And there's a part, it's the story of Chris Gardner, who is a true life person who went from rags to riches. There's a part in the movie where Will Smith is walking along the street and he sees a fellow get out of a car, a $200,000 car, in a beautiful suit with a beautiful briefcase, and he stops the guy and he says, "How do I get that?" And at first you think, oh, he wants the car and the suit and the briefcase, but no, it's actually much, much deeper than that. All of that to him in that moment represents self-respect. It represents providing for his son. It represents not sleeping on a subway floor one more night. And so one of the things that I start with foundationally with every client is a deep-seated, moving wellness why. And how do we get there? Well, we start with a piece of paper, and at the top we say, why do I want to be well? Why do I want to be healthy and fit and nourish myself well? And we start a process by which we first just write down a bunch of words, whatever comes to mind, then we put it into a proper sentence, and then we do a process which is called whying down, where you continue to say yes, but why? And so, for example, if you're like, I want to be fit because I want to live longer. Well, but why? Because I want to have kind of a fuller life experience. But why? And then you keep going down until it's so crystallized, so moving, and it's so personal to you that it actually squeezes your heart, might even bring a tear to the eye. And that wellness why becomes the foundation from which you can help motivate toward your own wellness aspirations.
So how hard and how long does it take for you to get to that with some people? I mean, I'm sure
I did a 4-hour wellness workshop beginning of January as kind of an entry into 2019. And I had them do it as an activity beforehand. And most of them, and I've also done it with my Change Cave members, and most of them, if you can sit down for an hour and you put some music on, you have no distractions, you can get down to your wellness why. It's just a matter of putting the time into it and really opening up your heart and your mind to thinking about, yeah, but why do I really want this? What I don't, this comes up where you and I talked about should versus good. There's so often we're making wellness decisions based on should instead of good. I should do this. I've read about it. I should lose weight because, that's what everybody tells me to do. If we aren't focusing on goals and wellness wise that are good for us personally and individually and have nothing to do what anybody else says or thinks we should be doing, we're going to have a lot better success if we move along that pathway versus just, shitting all over ourselves, which we do often.
I love that, shitting all over ourselves, because people do that all the time. We're constantly in an environment of comparing ourselves to others, especially with social media now, and Instagram photos and
Yes.
Facebook. I call it the Facebook filter and all that. I mean, it's funny how it doesn't really matter who I talk to as far as guests. It always comes down to finding your values, finding your why, following your intuition.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard. It's hard in today's world because there is so much telling us what we should be doing or look like or.
Yeah. And so I think once you get to that why statement, you have it up on your mirror, you have it on your phone. And when you get distracted and derailed, that's what you come back to. And sometimes it shifts a little. Like my Change Cave group, that's a membership group that I do, they're coming on a year. And some of them are shifting their whys a little bit because they're in a different space. And so we do have to, there's no there in wellness. It's a constant journey. And it's readjusting and shifting and looking at what season you're in and kind of designing what your wellness program looks like from that. So if you're a crazy busy mom with 4 kids, you're not going to have the same type of wellness program that a retiree with nothing but time on their hands is going to have. So we have to make adjustments for that.
Yeah, and things come up in life too. And I just did a podcast recently with Lisa Engel, and we talked about adapting to changes and adapting to our environment. And when you are a busy mom with 4, I think I know someone who's a little bit like that.
Yeah.
There are other people's, reasons of doing things and why does it come into your picture, and, you're part of a life together. So having some adaptability and some grace and knowing that your life is definitely not going to look like some 20-something-year-old who is traveling the world and has, no responsibilities at home quite yet to take care of, and other people in her life to really worry about. So anyway.
Two things there, Dr. Cheryl. One is, and I loved how you said this, when you have a strong, written out, defined wellness why, it's a beacon in the fog, right? So when you're in a fog of you're tired, you're distracted by Facebook and all that, you can keep coming back to that and recentering yourself. And the second thing, I love that you talked about what Dr. Engel said, and I describe it as be a thermostat, not a thermometer. So a thermometer tells temperature, it reads the room, and it reflects back what that temperature is. There's no power there. There's no opportunity there. If you're a thermostat adjusts accordingly to what's happening in the room, up a few degrees, down a few degrees, depending on what's going on in the room. And when I'm speaking at corporate, I talk about, let's say you're in a meeting and a couple of your coworkers are starting to get tense at the end of the table over a project. Instead of your shoulders going up and you kind of caving in and your heart starting to palpate a little bit and you're starting to take it on, that's the thermometer. So instead, you're deep breathing and you're refocusing, you're centering, you're grounding yourself. You might even remove yourself from the situation. That's being a thermostat. And that's all part of a wellness plan as well, is just learning how to respond and adjust in your own environment.
Yeah, and talk about corporate wellness. Well, not only just corporate wellness, but family situations.
Yes.
I mean, you can definitely be a thermometer or a thermostat with your family. And if you're going to be a thermometer, it's going to blow at the top eventually.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Mercury rising, as they say. Yeah, no, I totally, I have to keep coming back to that myself too, because it's very easy when you're tired to just be a sponge and take on everything around you and get tossed in the waves. And so, that's very, very important, is those small little steps that you take to make sure you stay centered and grounded.
So what kind of breakthroughs have you noticed with people that change to this perspective? They become more of the thermostat and not the thermometer, and they start
Yeah.
to adapt and find their why.
Yeah, I think once you have some of those principles in mind, and I think one of the we do a little cart before the horse sometimes. So we talked at the beginning about how there's so much information out there, and it's easy to get tossed around for the 21-day this or 30-day this, or I'm going to do this challenge or this. If you're not steeped in great principles of wellness and understand from a root kind of base, what is whole food eating? How should I be moving my body? Then it is very easy to get completely tossed around. So those people, I think, who have made that shift, first of all, they stop thinking of wellness as a destination, and they realize it's a journey. And number two, they realize that it's about progress, not perfection. It is those little steps in the right direction. If a couple of them happen to be backward, then you celebrate the next ones that are forward. If you fall, then you celebrate getting up again. And all of us in this industry will tell every client, oh, I still stumble and fall. I'm doing it all the time. I just pop up a little faster than some of the others, and I know to keep moving. And then finally, I think being kind. So we, particularly as women, tend to self-abuse a lot verbally. We have that inner bully, and working on kindness to ourselves, I think, is one of the first acts of wellness that is really impactful and has effect long term. And then I would say this one I just kind of came up with when I was doing this wellness planning event. One of the questions that came in beforehand was, what do I do when it feels like a grind? Wellness stuff often feels like a grind to me. She said, always eating well, always exercising. And I went out on a really long walk, and I thought about her question, and I went, oh, and I came up with what I felt might be a helpful answer to her, and I'll share it with you. And start with kind of the example of an Olympian, right? Somebody who's training for the Olympics has to get up at 5 a.m, go and train. And there are mornings they want to wake up and roll over, and they don't. They put their feet on the ground, they put their feet in their running shoes, and off they go, and they go and do their workout, because the value they've assigned to winning at the Olympics is so great. The effort to get out of bed and do what needs to be done becomes perceived more minimal. And so the answer I gave this woman about, sometimes on top of kids, on top of everything else, wellness seems like such a grind. Then I challenge what value you've assigned to being well, and that may need some attention. You and I understand the massive impact that choosing the right food for your body, moving your body in the right way, can have not only on your septuagenarian, but on you right in this moment, and how you smell your children's freshly washed hair, how you connect with your loved ones, how you experience everything around you is so powerful. So that concept of, if it's feeling like a grind, going back to figure out why you're doing this, understand the value of wellness, and the perceived effort will start to decrease.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that, because even I'm not an Olympian, but even with triathlon training, I mean, you're out there, and sometimes you have a workout and it's late at night or early in the morning, but you still get it done.
Well, yeah. And I think,
value.
and 6 years ago, if someone told you that was going to be your training schedule, you would have laughed in their face. But you found something that moved you and brought you joy and gave you a challenge and made you feel strong. And that value was such that, I'm going to get my butt out of bed at 5 and go freaking on the trainer for 2 hours. And you did it and are doing it. I mean, it wasn't just a one-time thing. You've continued to kind of pursue those athletic endeavors. And so I think you're a great example of that idea of value versus effort.
Yeah. And I think that some people, they'll see people doing these efforts, but they don't realize that they have taken many steps to get to that stage as well, because of what we see basically on social media and things like that. So people sometimes get overwhelmed and thinking, like, how can they do all of that? Yes. And they don't see what effort it does take, but also how you built up to that spot.
Yeah, and I think for those listening that are in overwhelm, just remember tiny steps consistently is way better than a big step once in a while. And so even if it's just like, okay, I'm going to start walking to my mailbox every day. It's a small step. It's a tiny little habit change. And but done consistently has way more impact than I'm going to do 100 push-ups in 30-day challenge. And then you stop after and you're sore and all of that. So I think those little steps, and then you just add on top with each passing, habit that you implement becomes permanent. You can start to look at other things. And, my story, Cheryl. I mean, I went from, 140 pounds to 235 in college. And it wasn't the weight, the weight was representing the fact I was stressed. I had no idea how to feed myself. I couldn't move my body. I ended up with 2 different arthritises and IBS and a thyroid condition and Raynaud's and all sorts of stuff. And, I'm still very much a work in progress. It's taken me a long time, but it wasn't until I started just getting consistent with the little steps, keep moving forward, align myself with folks who inspired me and moved me just a little further down the path, that those changes started to be permanent. And so I think that's a really key consideration too for those who are, sitting at home and wanting to up their game.
Yeah. And you'll see I won't say you won't even see dramatic results right away. Some people do see dramatic results right away. Yeah. But it is a gradual change. When we take care of people in our office, they'll sometimes come in, have all these lists of symptoms and issues and things that are affecting them, and don't even realize when we come around to do a reevaluation that 80% of those symptoms are gone because it's
subtle,
gradual, subtle change, but you can make huge leaps. Really, yeah. It can be gradual.
It's funny, you talk about having a little fear around your podcast. I had a little fear when I launched this Change Cave membership because I knew in my head I had to tell people signing up, plan on being here for a year, because that's how long it takes to get grounded in foundational principles and wellness, learn how to start to nourish your body correctly, learn how to move. And I knew it was going to take that long to teach all that. And I was afraid because I know people, we're living in a time of just quick returns. That's what we want. But that isn't working for us. It's in all the statistics that it's just not working. We've got to get back to just good principles of whole food eating and moving our bodies in the right way and understanding what that is. So I think that's nice that you mentioned, we do see that in practice a lot where patients will be like, oh my gosh, yeah, my headaches are gone. And oh yeah, I'm moving better. And it doesn't hurt when I go from sitting to standing. And sometimes it takes somebody just a little bit further ahead to kind of show those. So I think that's a great example.
Yeah. So what kind of tools and resources, groups, I mean, you're doing coaching, online resources, what kind of things do you send people to or have for people to reach out?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's very easy to get overwhelmed because there is a ton of stuff out there, and you and I both know that. And I think it's really there, and there are lots of good resources out there. I think it's very important to not get caught in the noise. Pick something that you trust and have investigated, and stick with it. The bouncing around, the trying new things all the time, sometimes that can be a big derailer and hold back your progress. So I think that's key. And anybody who's trying to sell you anything or educate you online, just, be aware of credentials, because it is very easy to open up a web shop and tell everybody you're a health coach and an expert. And it's deceiving. And so just be aware of whoever you're following or whoever you are being inspired by. What's their personal experience? What is their experience, not just on themselves, but on clients, et cetera, and kind of what is their credentials. So I think that's really important. I think the 3 things that we need, Cheryl, are resources, accountability, and a community. And if you can find all 3 of those things in a program, you're golden. And so resources are consistent resources pushed towards you to help guide you and educate you on how to take care of your body and your family's bodies. And accountability is a little different than community. I mean, community is that supportive, you are so awesome, keep going, girl. And accountability is, Yeah, I totally love you, but I'm going to kick you in the ass right now, and I'm going to call you out on some of the stuff you've been doing. So we need all three of those together. As I've mentioned, I've got a Change Cave program. I'm sure you'll provide the links, and there are other programs out there that are great. I do encourage people to find a community of like-minded wellness, what I call warriors or fierce wellness advocates, who are doing the same thing that you're doing. And we all have challenges. We can all support each other, but we're all moving in the same direction. We're not holding each other back.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
I was going to say, I'll definitely give people your contact information and information for the Chain Cave. Do you want to just say what the web link is for that, for those people who don't get on the notes so readily?
Yeah, it's easy. It's a bit.ly link, and that is bit.ly with a backslash, and then it's capital TCC land, LAND, all capitals, stands for the Change Cave landing page. So it's the capital TCC, capital LAND. And that'll take you right to the information landing page, just so you can learn about the program. You can register from there, but also it's more of an informational opportunity for people to see stuff there. So yeah, and if anybody has any questions, you can contact me through Facebook Messenger on the Well Fit and Fed page. I'm also on Instagram under Well Fit and Fed, so those are options too if anyone has questions from our recording today.
Yeah, I've noticed that you have lots of great resources for free and programs too for people to sign up for. So I'm so glad that you're doing that and offering it to people in kind of a holistic, natural, supportive, but again, accountability style. So some of us cower away from accountability, but accountability is really what pushes you to make those changes in a loving way.
Yeah, as long as it comes from kindness and love and common goals, and then it feels healthier and it feels safe once you trust the person who's doing that for you. So, I see people like yourself making massive changes in their lives. Lots, and it's doable, and it's you can accomplish those goals that you have. And even if you feel like it's surrounded in a couple of those fear points we made at the beginning, if you find the right person to kind of help you through that, it's amazing what you can accomplish.
Yeah, and my hope is that people will try to surmount those fears that they have, and doing that is finding someone who is there to help you, who's been there, is maybe still going through, but maybe you need someone who's one or two steps ahead of you to help guide you along the way. They don't have to be, eons ahead of you.
Yeah.
Either, so.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Yeah, that makes a great point. One other thing too, you asked about resources. We are in a time where we have all the support coming right from our phone. And so just a couple apps that I log into every single day. One is MyFitnessPal. I'm a food tracker. I'm a chronic overeater. I have to constantly keep that in check. I track my food, on and off again, but probably 80% of the time I'm putting my food in just to kind of see where I'm at and to hold myself accountable. Headspace as a meditation app is a fantastic, simple entry level into the kooky world of meditation. It's a great one. Another one that I really like is any kind of sleep tracker or water tracker. Those are both great, and there's lots out there, so I won't name them. But those are super great as well. And then, I use things like 7-minute workout. I use a jump rope app, just to help me design workouts when I'm feeling bored. Those are options too. So I just wanted to mention that there are some great free app resources that you can start to download and get going on right away.
Yeah, those are awesome resources, because, getting yourself moving, feeding your body well, making sure you're drinking enough water, getting enough sleep. Yeah. I mean, those are all huge issues. Actually, I was just listening to a podcast on depression, and they were saying that just improving your sleep habits decreases your depression about double to 3 times as much as taking an antidepressant.
For sure.
Changing your sleep pattern.
Isn't that amazing? And there's so many things you can do to design a really healthy sleep cave. And we do have to start to think of it as a space that needs to be attended to, because we spent too long with the TV on and our iPad next to our bed and junk light coming in and disruptions with pets. And there's so many things we can change in the sleep cave to give ourselves the highest quality sleep possible. And that is the starting point for any wellness program, is just making sure that you are getting good quality sleep for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Heather, for all of the information. Anything that we missed out that you want to pop in here at the end?
Yeah, no, I think we covered it. I want to just tell you again how much I appreciate what you're doing, getting great information out there, and wish you all the best of luck, Dr. Cheryl. I know you are diligent and absolutely attentive to your mission, and I so appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Heather. Thank you very much for all of your support and the community and accountability you give me too. So
you bet. Great. You bet. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you all again soon. Bye. Thank you for joining us on the Fearless Family Health Podcast. Show notes and resources covered in this podcast are available on our website at fearlessfamilyhealth.com. You can also join in on the conversation with other fearless families on our Facebook group, Fearless Family Health. If you like what you hear and want to hear more, please subscribe to upcoming casts and rate us on iTunes. And also, don't forget to share it with your friends so we can all be fearless.